Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. Though, actually on this one, there will be a little bit more seriousness than perhaps you're used to. But first, one of the things that I want to talk about is a mildly disturbing thing that I've seen going on with YouTube lately. Several months ago, I and a number of other content creators saw that a lot of comments were disappearing off of YouTube. Don't know why. Don't know if YouTube was deleting it. Not sure what was going on exactly. Lately, I've been seeing this happen once again. In the past couple of weeks, I have probably had 4 of my viewers ask me, why did I delete their comments? Did they say something that offended me, or what? And I responded, I didn't delete your comments. In fact, I don't typically delete any well, I'll take that back. There are a few types of comments that I do delete. The first is total spam. Like someone is coming onto my channel, into my comments, and they're trying to push someone to their website to buy their ebook, for example. That happens from time to time. Or some alternative diet that's not keto. Also porn. Any sort of porn links. I seem to get one of those pretty much every video, so that gets deleted. Additionally, I'll delete if I see somebody double commented, like by accident. I'll see the exact same comment at the same timestamp. So either something went on at their PC or something with the internet or something with YouTube, and it sort of double clutched and did that comment twice. I probably don't need to clean that up, but I'm, a little bit anal retentive, so like keeping things tidy, and, I'll delete those. The final thing, and I see this rarely does this happen, but when one of my viewers attacks another viewer. Let's see. The last one I did was probably a couple of weeks ago, and prior to that, I don't know how long it's been. 6 months or more. But someone asked something like, where can I find the recipe? Or where can I find the macros? Or something like that. And someone replied, hey, you effing idiot, it's on his website. Or something like that. Not really called for, so I got rid of that comment. But aside from that, I don't censor comments, I don't. That's fortunately the great thing about this sort of community that we have here, this Serious Keto community, is everybody's pretty polite and well-behaved and nice to one another. So pretty easy. So I don't know what's going on exactly with the comments. I do have one subscriber. She's actually a channel member, one of the paid channel members, and every comment that she leaves winds up getting put into the held for review bucket, where I have to manually go in and approve it. I have no idea why. There's nothing offensive about her username. There's never anything offensive or that would trip any sort of community standards or anything like that on YouTube. It's all very benign, like, hey, Steve, love your channel, great recipe, or something like that. And every single one I have to approve. So when you see weirdness in the comments, know that it's not me, unless you're posting porn links. Another sort of interesting thing that I've noticed in these contest videos that I've been doing the last couple of weeks, and will continue to do probably up until Christmas, sort of this disparity between likes and comments. Now, my videos get, as a percentage, a lot of likes and comments as it is a percentage of views. But for example, on the Keto Chow giveaway, so basically leave a comment and you're entered to win. As I'm filming this right now, there is over 2,000 comments, but just a little over 1,000 likes. So people like to win, they like to be entered, but clicking that like button is a little too much work, I guess. I don't get that. I would think that clicking the like button is super duper easy, and it means a lot to me, really. I put a lot of work into my videos. Even a short video like that, the time it takes to film it, edit it, set up my lighting, my camera, everything like that, take it all down, that takes some time. A lot more than the 1 second it does to click a like. So be mindful of that, not just on my channel, but on other channels as well. That clicking that like button, not a hard thing to do, but it means a lot to us. One of the segments that I plan on making a recurring thing here on the Not So Serious Keto video podcast is when I see keto labeled products that are clearly not keto, or at the very least, it's dubious. And I saw one such thing at my last trip to Costco. They are these keto trail mix thingies. First off, 6 grams of net carbs for a serving. Boy, that seems like, for net carbs, an awful lot. I mean, that's almost a third of what most of us allocate throughout the course of the day just for a serving. The ingredients are almonds, dried coconut, macadamia nuts, coconut macaroon flavored almonds, dark chocolate chips. And it's got that stamp on there, that keto certified, whoever certifies keto stuff. Now we look at the serving size, it's just 1/4 of a cup. To me, that's like 2 mouthfuls, probably, of clusters. And as we dig deeper into the ingredients, what else do we have? Canola oil and or peanut oil and or cottonseed oil. So seed oils, generally, for a lot of people, me in particular, inflammatory. Moving on down the list, I see sugar, I see corn syrup, I see brown sugar, natural flavors, organic cane sugar, organic dextrose. Wow, a lot of stuff on there that doesn't feel especially keto to me. But this is one of the reasons why I created that video on reading nutritional labels and ingredient lists. If you haven't seen it, I'll link to it right up there. If you see something that is especially egregious in terms of its claims of being keto, let me know. What was the product name? You know, if you get out onto Facebook or Instagram, you can always direct message me a picture of the front and the back of the package. I think that would be fun. One last little channel-related topic before I take a break, because the final segment that I'm going to do, the serious segment, is fairly long, and I don't want to wind up cutting that into pieces, and I'm fearful that if I do too many topics, I'm gonna run way over on time. So the last channel-related topic is related to fails and fail videos. So I had mentioned, it was during one of the keto giveaway things. It may have even been the Keto Chow one, where I mentioned that I'd had a really bad week working on recipes and had a couple of epic fails. And a number of you said you'd love to see the fails. So I will try in the future to at least take pictures of my fails. Generally what I do is I will make a recipe a couple of times first before I even fire up the cameras. But I'll try to catch some bloopers and some fails and things like that for the future. Incidentally, later this week, it's probably going to wind up being the Friday cooking video, even though it's not cooking per se. I had done a live stream for my paid channel members, the top 2 tiers of my channel members. I do a couple of live streams for, and I do one that's from the kitchen. So I'm either working on a recipe that I've not worked on before, so plenty of fail opportunity there. In fact, the majority of the time that I do those sort of videos for the live stream, it winds up being a failure. The other is I'll experiment with an ingredient, and that's what the one that I do this Friday is going to be. It's me starting to go through my list of thickeners and testing the various properties. And it starts off rather uneventful, but eventually we start getting some really, really weird interactions between different thickeners. And I took this video, it was 1 hour and 10 minutes for the live stream. I pared it down to about 20 minutes, and hopefully you'll find it entertaining. It'll give you a little bit of an inside look, not only just to behind the scenes, but also to some of the channel member perks that I offer. So look forward to that, and with that, we'll take a brief little ad break. A number of you have asked in the comments, what's the deal with the facial hair, Steve? And I've gotten, is it deer season? Are you deer hunting? Is it a hockey thing? Is it in support of Aaron Rodgers? Or is it Movember or No Shave November? And it's the latter. It's the final category. It's Movember. And I decided that I would actually dedicate the second half of this podcast to Movember, because I think it's somewhat misunderstood. So Movember is not just an excuse for guys to not shave. It is supposed to be about men's health, specifically testicular cancer, prostate cancer, and depression. And as we start talking a little bit more about that in this segment, if we start getting to a place where it's going to be too much information, I'll give you some sort of TMI warning. But the whole mustache and beard thing is supposed to prompt conversation about these issues, because all of them are things that sort of traditionally guys are uncomfortable discussing. I think a lot of people are they're uncomfortable hearing about these things. You know, and I would say guys, especially sort of Gen X and older, I think the way that we were brought up, and I realize this may sound like, I'm talking stereotypically, but I think the way that we were brought up it was that guys had to be, you tough and strong, and you didn't talk about problems. You didn't talk about, well, what the trip to the proctologist was like. You didn't talk about being depressed. And we need to. So I'm gonna. And if that bothers you, then maybe, now's the time to stop watching this video. But I hope you'll stick around, because when we don't talk about these things, we perpetuate them. And I'm going to cover them in reverse order. So first, depression. It pleases me that guys are getting more comfortable talking about this. You're starting to see certain sports stars, like American football stars, talk about it. I think it would be great if there were a broader initiative across all of sports where people are willing to discuss this. It's problematic though, because sports, it's tough, we're strong, it's competitive, and to talk about being depressed is sort of a sign of weakness. It's a sign of weakness, I think, in the business world too. I mean, at least, for me, coming from GE, a very alpha sort of company, you'd never talk about being depressed. So what we do is we hold it in. We keep it to ourselves until we hit that breaking point. And the suicide rates among males globally is about 1.8 times what it is for females. And I gotta believe that there's a connection, that not being open and talking about our issues can lead to that. And I know that I'm probably more open than most, especially in these podcasts. I talk about certain issues. I talk about the way that I feel. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. And I have dealt with depression. I have spent considerable chunks of the last 30 years on medication for depression. And boy, I don't even know how many different types I've had, but a lot. Fortunately, I'm not on anything anymore. I'm feeling pretty good. But depression is a weird thing. You tell people you're depressed, and some of the responses that you get are just, they're not helpful. So, you'll get either the person that says, toughen up, why are you depressed? Everything goes your way. You've got a beautiful wife, a beautiful house, a beautiful car, a great job. How can you possibly be depressed? And what I think those people don't understand is that depression, it's like a disease. It probably is a disease, but if someone has cancer, you don't say, well, how can you have cancer? You've got a beautiful house, you've got a beautiful wife, you've got a great car. The cancer is there regardless. There's no sort of cause and effect relationship between what's going on in your life and cancer and what's going on in your life and depression. So to come and say, well, you shouldn't feel depressed, rub a little dirt on it, get back out there, toughen up, that's not helpful. And it makes us not want to talk about our problems. The other thing you may get is the person that wants to one-up you. Oh, you think you've got it bad? Look at my life. Also, not helpful. I think the most helpful thing that we can do when we have somebody that is depressed in our life is to help them find professional help. And fortunately, we live in a time now with search engines and the internet. It's pretty easy to find resources. But to describe the feeling of depression to others it's a difficult thing. And I know what it feels like for me. I don't know if this is what it feels like for everybody, but it feels like drowning and despair. And I had an experience when I was probably 11 where I was at a hotel and pool at the hotel, and I was playing around sort of roughhousing with a larger kid. I mean, he was pretty much adult sized, and we're splashing and stuff. And at one point he decided he was going to force me down under the water and stand on me. It's probably only 3 feet deep, the water, but I'm on my back underwater and he's standing on my chest. And the pressure on my chest and the not getting air and just feeling like There's nothing I can do. I'm going to die. That's what depression feels like to me. And it's not something that you can point, like I said earlier, to some specific thing that's going to cheer you up or make you feel better. So if you've never experienced it, be empathetic to those who have. The next topic in Movember is testicular cancer. We're starting to ease into that TMI territory. Now, fortunately, I think that this has probably become less of an issue. I think there's been a lot more education about it. I think that guys, all right, I'll just come out and say it. We're pretty familiar with our testicles. We know when something's wrong down there. And, when there is, it's the sort of place in our body where we're probably pretty eager to get some professional advice and help on. And I had an experience also with that back in my early 20s. I found what I felt was a lump. It was sort of elusive. It was kind of hard to find, but yeah, I'm starting to make the hand gestures already. But I went and I saw a urologist, and it is an uncomfortable experience. And ladies, I get that you go through this every doctor visit. So I know you get poked and prodded and stuff like that. So you don't need to come back and say, well, try going to a gynecologist. I don't know that I can try going to a gynecologist, but what I'm saying is I appreciate that you go through that. For us, I think it's a little bit more awkward. And one of the ways that you can support us is saying, hey, I know what you're going through. We get this once or twice a year. I just try and disassociate myself from it mentally. It feels awkward, but it's over before you know it. That almost feels like a Rodney Dangerfield sort of punchline. Okay, so now we're taking this up to TMI level 2 right here. The doctor tells me to drop my pants, and he pulls up a stool and starts checking out my coin purse. And I'm staring up at the opposite wall, right where the wall meets the ceiling. And I'm just, because I don't want to look down. This is the first time I've been handled in this way, and I don't exactly know what to do. So I'm staring up at the wall, and he starts humming. It's not a song that I recognize, and I'm not sure if he's doing that for his behalf or for me, but it wasn't doing anything for me. So he's there doing his thing, and I start thinking, what's the worst thing that could happen right now? Is it if I peed a little, or is it if I got aroused? Fortunately, neither of those things happen, but that's just sort of the way my brain works. Anyhow, what he said, it was I forget what it was. It was not a lump. It was something natural, something that goes on down there, just part of my parts, and it was all good. So I'm glad I went. It was a relief. The worst thing I could have done is not go. And that then brings us to prostate cancer, which we're going to get probably TMI level 3 at this point. So on a podcast I did, 7-8 months ago, probably 8 months ago, I had mentioned that I'd had a physical and my PSA results came back high. I believe it was a 9.7, which for my age is high. And I had to go then see a urologist, and I got the DRE, so the digital rectal exam, and then he wanted to do a biopsy, which we did, and that was not a fun procedure. He undersold it quite a bit. He said we'll go in there and we'll collect a few cells and we'll send them to a lab. It's really not quite as pleasant as all of that. So even though you're under a general anesthetic, or a local anesthetic, I get the two mixed up. I was anesthetized down by the butt. And he goes in with an ultrasound probe and then snips 12 different places on the prostate. It kind of feels a little bit like a mousetrap going off up your butt. Not at all fun. So if the way I explained it sounds not at all fun, I still probably undersold it a bit. But it's one of those things that, had to be done. So I did that. The lab results came back, no cancer, but they wanted to see me back again in 6 months or whatever. And now we've hit that point, and I had another PSA and my values came back even higher. And my free PSA is actually high enough that, according to the lab results, that there's a 50% chance that a biopsy will diagnose me as having cancer. Fortunately, though, my urologist said, we're not going to do another biopsy, we're going to do an MRI. So if you're watching this on the 15th, I'm having my MRI at 9 this morning. And we'll know at some point, probably later in this week, what's going on. The MRI is able to detect if there's something going on deeper in the prostate, someplace that a biopsy wouldn't reach. So anyhow, that's going on this Monday, and I'll keep you up to date with what's happening there. Now, one of the things that happened 8 months ago when I brought up this topic originally is I got a lot of opinions from both ends of the spectrum on cancer and prostate cancer, and the people that are very in favor of medical treatment and the people that were very opposed. And I would ask for neither of that right now. That I ask for your well wishes is what I ask for. And knowing what I know about all of you, I think I can count on that. So I think that is going to be it for talking about Movember. So every time you see a guy that's rocking the beard and mustache this month, now you know the story behind it. And hopefully you can be part of the conversation if I didn't lose you all by now. Anyhow, that's the end of this podcast. As always, thanks for watching or listening.